the thing, the big thing.
Yeah, exactly. But in the
Is it
meantime,
just us two or three?
3.
God.
Yeah.
Really?
once we find Wendy
We're
is
getting like spectacular, like the best A-starred service.
That's right. So it'll be short and sweet, but in a good way. Yeah.
Where are you, Justin?
What's
Where
that?
Where are you?
Me? I am in Las Vegas.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes!
man. Party on, dude.
That's right. You know what? That's not me. My Vegas experience, most people probably go, really? You're in bed by 10? Like, what?
Do you see the shows? What do you do?
No, I like playing slot machines. I like just walking around. I don't really. I'll eat somewhere unusual at least one meal, but I'm not even really into that.
I
So
can't believe you didn't take us with you.
I wish I could have. Yeah.
Best friends.
Well, you can come next time. I'm actually here for a slot tournament, believe it or not.
You're
So I got,
kidding me.
You're in a
I didn't even know there was such a thing, man.
yeah, the competition, it's all based on luck. Like, it literally has no skill whatsoever. You just sit there and hit the button in this one. There's another one that I've done because I've only done 2. And the other one, you do the same thing, but then there's stuff that'll pop up on the screen that you do have to have some sort of
Okay.
coordination at least to get it to work. So
So
How many people compete for that?
this one is pretty big. It's like 800 and some people.
Wow.
Yeah.
How are you doing? Have you started?
Yes, I finished actually. So I because of this, I did 9 a.m. times. So I was the first person like in, and there's like I think 50 people or maybe it's 100 at a time or whatever. Anyway,
Okay.
I don't.
Whereabouts is it? Is it like on the old strip or the new strip?
It's right on just the strip. I'm right across from Caesars at Harris, if you know that hotel. So yeah,
I definitely know the Caesars. Yeah.
yeah, I'm right in the heart of darkness. So in a good way.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't even want to say what I do when I go to Vegas. It's just
Most people don't. Mine, I can tell everybody, and they go, "Oh, you're boring." Well,
I don't want to know what you do.
no,
either.
man.
or not.
the less
Yeah,
I know about that,
I
the
know.
better.
Yeah, Alex is like, "Oh."
All right. Well, I have shot Miss Wendy an email to
Cool.
poke and remind and resend the link and all that jazz. But I don't really know what's going on there. But I don't want to keep you guys waiting.
What's up? What's going on? I missed it, obviously, because I was late.
No, nothing. Just we're missing another person. We don't know why.
Yeah. I hope everything's okay. And she's just like busy with Mother's Day things and forgot. But, the email has been sent. But why don't you guys go ahead and have class? I don't think we need you to introduce yourself, Justin, because I think these guys know you.
They do. Yes.
Pretty sure.
We're old friends, all of us, which is good.
All right, cool. So we'll skip that step. But I've made you the host, sir, so you have all of the powers vested therein. Thank you. And I am going to skedaddle so I can, make sure Joey's okay. And you guys go off and do your thing. Holler if you need me.
Beautiful.
Thanks, dude.
Is he in pain? Is Joey in pain?
What's
Ah,
up with you?
Is he a baby?
What's he done?
oh, he injured his back.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Just-
He's going to be fine. Made him go to the doctor. Everything's cool. Just, like complicated twisting and reaching for things is not really something he can do right now.
Oh, okay. Send him our best wishes.
Aw, I will. Those will make him better quicker.
Send him my love. Ciao.
All righty, guys. Have a good one.
Hi, Alex.
All right, my friends. Either one of you want to go first, or shall I pick?
Oh, no. I can't believe it's just the 3 of us. It's
Like,
nuts.
first, because I may have to go pick up my daughter, if that's okay with Marty.
Oh, yeah. No worries, babes. I assumed it was going to be, like last time there was 6 of us, right?
Justin has 2 sessions.
Yes.
Anyway, I
Justin,
feel privileged, man. Thank you.
that's why Justin had to. Go ahead.
Weren't you going to be firm on the time so you didn't have to spend your whole day? And then I see you have 2 sessions.
Yep. So I was doing the 10 o'clock one.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking that's what your stipulation was, right?
Yeah,
What the hell happened, man?
That was already breaking my own rule because whatever. I had a second wind or an 8th wind or whatever it was. And then Joey's like, would you hate me if I added another? I was like,
You're such a sucker, man. He owns your ass.
There are worse things. Joey's at least sweet.
Yeah, he's awesome. But it's great. Dude, yeah.
You're just too popular.
You can't say no to Joey. It's just not possible.
It was hard. Well, and he said on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you hate me so much you'll never speak to me again. How bad are you feeling by even the question? I said I'm a 5. Like, what's up? And he's like, I got people like Jana, Marty. I'm like, oh, well, of course they're like my friends. So let's do it.
Oh, dude, thank you, man. That's really sweet of you, dude.
That's right.
So appreciated. Anyway,
Don't forget it. I'm just kidding.
I won't.
Cool. So Jana, this is quite a script, my dear. How long has this been
I
around?
want to hear everything like really raw and honest on this one because I think it's funny and I don't get it. And there was only one person, I don't want to say who that was, but it stopped me from kind of like developing it and pursuing it.
Interesting. So they were so harsh on it, you were like, I just gotta put it.
She said that she thought it was offensive, the Burkup scene. And
Okay.
so I'm like, the last thing I want to be is offensive.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh, I must be totally misreading this because that's what our CIA agents actually do
Right.
when they're in those countries. And so I didn't think about it. I don't believe it's a religious offense, but anyway, that's what she said to me. And so then I thought, oh, I got to stop this until I can get somebody who will look at it from a different perspective and say, bad or good. Yes. So that's why you're the lucky guy.
I like that though. I had no problem with that scene for the reason that you just said. This is something that in covert operations they would do.
Exactly.
You go native, and so you pretend to be something that you're not, which is the whole thing. So whether
Particularly when you're an American, you stick out like a sore thumb.
of course, you'd have to hide yourself as best
Right.
you could, and what better
Right.
disguise than that?
Exactly. Okay. So, but did you have some problems with other things?
Not problems per
Okay.
se, but major issues.
Okay. Good.
No, honestly, the overall, the biggest thing to target, and if I literally stopped talking after this, you would have gotten a lot from what I'm
Okay.
about to say. So I'll try to phrase it the best I can. The biggest issue is the setup,
Okay. Tell me why.
because it almost feels like 2 different movies. It's like you have the beginning where it's
Yes, I agree.
grandfather, grandson, like cool bonding moment. He's trying to maybe live out the last year of his life. And then it's go rescue mom.
Yes.
Yeah. So that would be the biggest thing. I think that there's a way to tie those things in.
Okay.
But I think the easiest way to say it is it's building up the military training once Grandpa gets to college, shall we say. And then introducing that as a form of discipline that the kids, especially his grandson, don't have. So when that thing happens where there's a need for them to possibly do this crazy thing, it makes more sense if that's the way to put it.
But he does do training, so he needs to do more.
He does, right. There needs to be more of it. It's almost like, I don't know how long it's been since you've seen Red Dawn, and I'm not necessarily saying you go back and watch it, but the one thing they did well is the Russians invade at the beginning of the movie. You have no other setup. It's like literally elementary classroom pan out, Russian troops are parachuting into town.
Okay.
But the main characters that we follow, Patrick Swayze, all those guys, like they grew up hunting and those things, and they briefly show you that so that you can imagine and go with the fact that they're survivalists of a sort. And do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the kind of thing that we just need here. Not saying that it needs to be like that, but
But they do. He teaches them combat, down in the laundry room, and
he does, but it's so brief that then it's like this setup, and then we have this short training, and then they're off to like do something.
them on like a field maneuver, something like that. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that idea already.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the other thing that ties into that is the Stephanie character, right? Just making sure that her going over there doesn't feel like a setup for what they're doing. Does that make sense? It's like, because like we lose her for a while. She appears at the beginning and then she's gone to like page 45.
Right.
And then when she shows up, she's doing her journalism thing, and then all of a sudden she's in crisis. And so we don't really get a lot with her to.
Should I show her from time to time what she's doing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And you have the easy out of her, checking in with her son and her dad and that, so you have a couple beats of that, but just sprinkling it in more will help.
Got it. Okay. Do you, with the Red Dawn scenario, are you saying maybe start with them seeing like something on TV or something like that with the problems in that country first, like weave that in a little bit more from the beginning?
Yeah, so an easy way to do that would be, I like the beginning as it is now because we don't know what we're getting set up. I have an opportunity to make that even funnier if you want. Not that this is a comedy per se, but it has moments of levity to it, right? Like you could have, mother and son, like, well, he's lost again. We got to go track him down, and maybe even. Have one of them have a leash. In other words, you're alluding that maybe we think it's a dog that escaped, and then as we drive down the road, there's Grandpa hiking, trying to run away. That kind of a thing could work well. And then once you bring him back to kind of the facility that he's at, you could have something on the news, and because it's mostly older people, the volume could be really high, and we could get like a snippet of it without you being too on the nose. I think it would work.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, and it's funny because I'll tell you more later, but I know the perfect actor to play Bo.
Okay, good.
Like I know him well. I could call him right now, like major actor, and he has that training. This is him. You literally wrote him. Yeah. So just saying, when you're ready to cast this, I know exactly who to give it to, because he can validate the military part and all that too. So anyway. But yeah, the biggest thing was the setup for it, right? Just making sure that turn to where it ends up that they're on a mission to where their lives are actually in danger to save mom makes that much sense based on the foundation that you start with.
Okay, so I got to cut. I kind of like where those guys. Are you hearing a feedback?
Yep.
I was hearing it with you too. Let me see if I just go back a little bit.
That seems better.
Yeah. Do you think I should have, I kind of like it where the guys are the command center,
Mm-hmm.
but do you feel like they need to go with them? Like, is it an ensemble group that needs to all fight together?
I didn't have a problem with that. It actually, based on those characters and the fact that communications are what they are in the world now, they didn't need to be there.
Okay. The other thing I think is weak in the script is the girlfriend's. I think the professor's role is good, and the other guys, but I think the girlfriend's role is not as strong as it should be.
Right.
He's ex-girlfriend.
Yeah. She either needs to go because she could have, to your point, and we wouldn't have missed her, or she needs to have like a critical part where she serves to help elevate him in his journey.
That's what I think too. Which one would you suggest?
I like the idea of more women in it. And it's nice to play off of Stephanie and all that too, in that sense. Yeah. So I like her being in it.
Okay.
Yeah, Jana, can you just tell me what the pitch is?
It's about a grandfather who runs away from his horrible living situation, which is an old folks home. It's more of a assisted living, I guess they would call it, but between a nursing home and an assisted living. And he goes to live with his son in his dorm room. And he kind of just starts taking over his grandson's life. And he's a big military guy. So he gets all of the kind of the misfits in the dorm to kind of follow him. And he trains them. And everything he says, he's had a long military career. So the grandson's mother finally, with this, with her son in college, gets to go and be the photojournalist she wants to be, and she gets trapped in a country where they have to go save her using their military skills.
That's a pretty crazy idea. It sounds fun. It sounds like a comedy.
It is. What would you call it, Justin? What would we call it?
I mean, it's an action dramedy to me, because it has a lot of heart to it. It's not as serious as it could be, and I don't think it should be, because I think that would ruin it. But it's really based on these relationships in a fantastical place by the end. Yeah.
No, here's my other question. I was thinking about this week. Do you think it's a TV show or a feature?
Feature, because I don't know where you would go with them. Like I can't see them really becoming the A team, you know what I mean? Where they're like going on these missions every week, and that's probably where you'd have to go, and that doesn't seem as fulfilling.
I was thinking, and I agree with you. I was thinking maybe they could like infiltrate local stuff. Like, they could use their military skills to get files.
It's funny you say that, because when you asked the question, that was the only thing that came to mind if you're going to do a TV show. But then this, like the Middle East and her getting trapped, like that would be the season finale.
Yes.
And them going, oh shit, we got to go there, and that's how you end. Like, do they? Don't they? How? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you can play that out, because to be honest, there's a CBS show that's just Grandpa going to college. You know what I mean?
Oh, there is? Is it?
No. I'm saying there could be, and funny, it just feels like a show that they would do. Yeah.
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 Well, I think I love the intergenerational things. I think that's really kind of an interesting, rich humor where they each learn from each other.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a nice idea, dude.
At the end, he's going to go to college. That's why they can't kick him out.
Right. Right, which is fun too. So then if you want to explore that thread based on what we were talking about, and you want to condense some of these great ideas into a pilot, see what you got. I think the characters will shine through from that. And then you'd have to think of kind of local missions that probably by episode 2, if not at the end of episode 1, you're alluding to them going on.
Yeah, but you're telling me probably that's going to be stretching it.
Probably, I can see it. I think it feels like something from the late '80s, and that's not a bad thing, because those things are circling back. But rather than something that would be like, oh, that's today. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. Thank you very much for the outside view of that.
Oh yeah. I have a couple of other notes, like by page, because they build into characters, but the overall thing is just that setup, like we were talking about.
Yes.
I really love that we get to Bo and Mitch by right now page 20. It's such a clear, great structural note. So in that sense, don't change that. Like, you can detract and expand or whatever, but you hit that moment right where it should, and it felt organic. It didn't feel like you did it because that's what I'm supposed to do,
Okay.
So I did like that. The nanotechnology, I like it, but it's one of those things that, like, of course they're friends with the smart kid that happens to have that. Do you know what I mean? I almost think that, like, he should steal it from the lab at the school, or like, like that kind of thing would just make it that much more like, okay, that makes even more sense.
Okay.
It's a minor thing, but it just,
that could be their military training almost.
Yes.
As well, like you're saying, follow through.
Yeah, because college universities have those places that are off limits in that sense and more secure. So that I like that idea a lot.
I do too. That sounds fun.
Yeah, I think so too. Another thing to bring in maybe a little earlier, if you like. I think that it probably should be. But the stakes aren't really presented until like page 38 now, which is that like Mitch has cancer, but he wants Bo to be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe you could just allude to it. I don't know. Because as far as like the assisted living facility, like my grandma's 95, right? And I just saw her last weekend when I was in Minnesota, which was wonderful. And she lives in basically an apartment where there are people that can help her, like total hospital, if you will, like staff on site, but it's only if she needs them. And that's kind of where I picture him. And he's probably the most spry and mentally fit of all of them. And that's why, in addition, he's kind of done with it. But then the question becomes, why is he there? And then you can play off that in terms of, he battled cancer and he's not in as great a shape as he might think he is.
Okay. Is the stakes for the grandson enough that he could get kicked out of college?
Yeah, I think you could emphasize that even more. It's there, but I think you could hit on it, and that will also help with why Mitch is so hard on him.
Right.
Because it's like, this ain't happening, you know, you got in, you're going to graduate, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
In addition to the physical, you know.
Right.
And another thing on him, especially in the maybe emotional and physical part, Bo, that is, we should see him as weak. We're kind of told about it as of now. So weak, you know, rather than Mitch just basically say you're weak and we gotta, you know what I mean? It's like we should see him in a moment where, yeah, he kind of is, you know.
Well, he has his mom do his laundry, and he is kind of dependent on other people.
Dependency isn't necessarily weakness, though, because if my mom was here and offered to do my laundry, why wouldn't I let her? Do you know what I mean?
I do. I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So it should be something else, like maybe with the kind of, you know, because you have Tyler, who's kind of that bullyish character, like something maybe with him where he won't stand up for even his friend, or maybe it's his ex-girlfriend or something. I don't know. Okay. You can play with that.
Okay.
I wondered too if we should see that rubber snake scene. I don't know if we should, but it was funny, and it's alluded to a couple times. We have that great picture of it.
Yeah. Okay. Like a flashback, or?
Yeah, it could even be a way to start the film, but then I don't like that as much as I like the search for, we think maybe it's an animal or something, and it is, but it's a human animal named Mitch. Yeah. The laser subplot, I wasn't as fixed on. I'm not saying you should drop it per se, but just was kind of like there rather than being something that felt like it was super part of the story. I get that it brings her over there, but maybe instead of it being that, maybe she's doing like a human rights photo. She feels more like that kind of photojournalist to me, but maybe I'm wrong.
Okay.
Gotcha. I just don't think the specificity added. That's, I guess, the note.
So, at first, I thought you meant like the laser kind of thing in general, but you were saying the reason why she would go over there shouldn't be the laser.
It's a little bit of both. For specifically why she's over there, yes. But I don't, yeah.
The laser is too contrived or weird, or should I think of something else, or it's okay, but I just need to establish it better?
Maybe establish it better, and I'm not so sure really that you need it, because you can keep it as generic as being like there's a conflict. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be the technological aspect of it, but it could be. Again, it wasn't like I was super opposed to it. It either needs to be stronger and more resonant, or you could maybe
that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah. Nate's coming back on page 72 felt a little bit thrown in. It's like he showed up because he had to. You know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah.
I do know what you mean.
Yeah. And in a fun way, coming alongside you. It's that writer thing of, oh, shit, I forgot about Nate. I got to bring him back. Yeah.
Well, I thought it would be the moment where Bo has to say, oh, here's what I've been wanting. This is what I've been wanting, is to get out of college and go see the thing. But he makes a choice to stay for Grandpa. Right. So that was really my thought. Is that a crossroads again?
Yeah. I like the crossroads. I'm just not sure if him coming back at that is the thing. Maybe it's like, they're on FaceTime or something, and he's like, dude, I got your ticket book right here. I won some money in Vegas and you need to be here.
Okay.
Because I like what it did. He just came back and it was too like, oh, okay, yeah, here he is.
No, I think you're right.
So two other things. Page 96. I wasn't sure tonally about Bo using the magic to save them, but I'm not opposed to it either. I think it's just the weaving in of it, because you've set it up well. We know about the trick from before.
Right.
You can do those illusions. I would just be careful about it that it doesn't come across as borderline even campy. I don't think that it does, because it's about the execution, but it struck out to me, so I just want to be sure of it.
How could I make it better? How could I? Like, are you suggesting leave it out, or are you suggesting weave it in. It's a nice little plot point, but it shouldn't be the one that saves it.
Yeah, maybe it's that. Yeah, it's like a beat of it like saves them from one part, and then like their skill set that they've just learned through Mitch helps them get through it, kind of thing.
Gotcha.
And then the last thing was I wrote on page 111, he isn't dying. Yeah, like he just made that up then to be closer to his grandson.
He did it to get him to stick with him and not kick him out and feel sorry for him, and not good.
Well, I like it. I think by that point, it will feel like are you kidding me? Like from the audience's point of view, versus like if he does that as they're on the way to the Middle East or something, that feels like
Okay, so
two
it's
moment.
story. You don't object to the trick, you object to the timing.
Yes, the trick is actually very.
Okay.
If you look at it from a certain point of view, it's actually very sweet. We almost would say.
Yeah.
Like he thought he had to go to that extreme to get close with him.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, I think on the plane on the way to save Mom would be a good moment to tell him.
Okay.
'Cause it's like they might not make it, so for real now he has to confess, kind of thing.
Okay.
I think it'll add, because then it's almost like a catharsis if they get through it together, and it's like they're even closer now, you know?
Yeah.
No need for lies. So why then is Mitch in the home if he wasn't struggling with that? Just his age?
Well, his wife died and he really sunk into a depression. And
Yeah.
I guess he could live with them, but, you know.
Well, I don't like him living with them because I feel like, you know, he probably wanted to be more independent, but then, you know, maybe it was even the Veterans Association or something that like suggested that he go into a unit where he's with other people because, you know, maybe his depression not led him to suicide. He's not that kind of guy, I don't think.
No.
But you get what I mean? Maybe it's like you need to be kind of under watch a little bit.
Yeah. I think sometimes like that generation, like they don't really cook for themselves and they don't really know how to do that. That was taken care of for them.
Well, especially him, because he went from military to marriage and in between, and it's like he probably, based on age, like always had someone to take care of him that way. Yeah.
But you're thinking a little bit stronger foundation for him being in the home.
Yeah. Either he's older than you have him now, or like there was some incident, you know, that's alluded to that was real, and thus he's in an assisted kind of capacity, assisted living.
Okay.
Yeah.
What if the house burned down from his neglect or something?
Yeah. No, it absolutely, that kind of thing would make sense, because then it's he's not. What's that?
It's a safety issue and a social issue, both.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, the veterans groups do a lot for each other in that capacity, so it would make sense of them kind of stepping in, if that happened.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
I always like to say, like on a scale of 1 to 10, where is the script now? Knowing that I've got a lot to do.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say?
I think you're between a 6 and a 7.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
What I try to do, you can hardly ever make it a 10, but I try for a 9.
Sure.
So like my rewrites, I try to make it up to a 9. So that's good.
Yep. So then,
What happened?
go ahead.
Sorry,
Mark.
sorry to interrupt. No, go ahead, man.
No, I was going to say that next week, then, Janet, the only thing you need to ask is where am I at, and I'll just go, it's a 4, and then you'll be like, you'll just go out. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Right, yeah.
I've actually got this werewolf story that I'd like you to look at.
Interesting.
Because I'm kind of in the same place with this. I really like it. Of course, you know, when you're a writer, like you write it and you obviously sometimes know where it's missing but you like it or you wouldn't be writing it.
Right.
So it's so good to have somebody else say, like, I don't get that, or this doesn't make sense, or this is slow or something. But it's really about a werewolf who wishes that people would look inside him instead of judging him on his werewolfness.
Yeah. I feel that way all the time, being a werewolf myself.
Yeah, me too. It's a real pain in the ass.
It's about a much bigger scope the werewolf is, you see it from the perspective of the werewolf, and he's somebody who is like a young person driven by his emotions, but that's not what he wants to define him.
Hmm.
So
You know what's interesting is Wendy's script deals with werewolves too.
really, that's so funny.
Yeah, not in the same way, really, but yeah, just it's always fun to me when things kind of, come back. We had a script in development for a long time called She-Wolf,
Yes.
that was a transgender, because werewolves, if you go into ancient folklore, especially Native American, there's a duality which makes sense about a werewolf. So the writer took that into the sexuality kind of component, and it was really interesting. So we came up with, the character was born male, transitioned to female, but the werewolf side of her is male. So we're playing with all of that in the midst of this. And so she is coming into herself, but can't deal with these changes that are coming on. You get what I mean? So it's very, very compelling. And it just timing. It just wasn't the right timing, because what happened is, like, you had Teen Wolf, you had the dying out of the Twilight stuff, and you had all these vampire-y things, and Sabrina was on the horizon. Teen Wolf was still on. Anyway, Walking Dead was like winding down. So it's like, it's hard in that genre space a little bit.
I kind of agree with that. The only reason I wrote this is because I have a producer friend here in town who has a guy who has connections in China and South Korea for money.
Yeah.
And this is based on the Shaolin Wolf legend, if you will. So I do agree. It seems like people really are not making werewolf movies, vampire movies.
But here's the thing. Someone will, and all of a sudden it'll be the big thing. And we knew that about this. It's really unfortunate that Fox canceled The Passage, even though it's not werewolves. It deals kind of in that same space.
Oh, it's it's like the novel turned into I didn't know they cancelled that. That novel scared the shit out of me. You read it?
It did me too.
This.
I read the first book. Yeah,
I read the whole trilogy. It becomes sucky towards the end, but the first part of the trilogy is phenomenal.
Yeah,
you should read it. Yeah. It's scary as fuck.
It's a really good standalone book, Jana, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, Justin Cronin.
Yeah, there's the scene where they first escape these vampires.
Don't say.
I'm not gonna. It's so terrible. Anyway, you should read it, dude.
Thank you, Justin.
Yeah, no, you're very welcome. But Marty,
Anna, let's have a good day, Anna. When you go, go now.
I'm going to stay on for a while.
Oh, okay, cool. Dude, what happened to your other script just before you go?
Which
the one you were working on last time. How's that going?
Oh, I completed all of Justin's comments, and I gave it to the manager.
That was just, that was deeply disturbing, but sounded really.
Deeply. Oh, but here's my comps. The Color Purple meets The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
How about that?
That's pretty good.
Yeah. All right, thanks for asking. All right, I'm going to duck out here, but I'm still on for a while.
Cool.
See you. Justin, how you doing, man? How was Minnesota? How'd it go?
Good. I mean, it was a whirlwind, but the half marathon went really well. My sister and I finished it together. She broke her time that she wanted, even though she was having a really, really rough day. She suffers from lupus, and she had like a attack or whatever you would call it that morning while we were running. Yeah.
Jesus, what does that mean? Is it like what's the impact of it? How does it manifest itself?
Very physically tired.
Oh God, how on earth did she be? That's insane.
Did it through. She really did. And then like
what a star, man.
She has a sun sensitivity, and it was supposed to be all overcast, and then it wasn't, which was great for me, but wasn't for her. And anyway, but yeah, somehow she just kept going. It was pretty awesome.
Being with her brother, dude, you motivated her. That's pretty
she
cool.
wouldn't let me run with her though. We were running in a funny way. Like we got to like mile 5, and she was falling back, and I said, trying to encourage her. And I said, well, what do you need? I said, do you want me to run ahead and like wait for you? And she goes, yeah, I can't have you here. I just got to stay in my own space. I said, okay, I totally get that. So I would wait for her every 2 miles. And then I would see her come, and then I would, say, you doing okay? Okay, good. And then, then we ran the last one together and, like I said, crossed at the same time. So.
Oh, dude, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So how'd she feel afterwards? I mean, that she had to go into some kind of recovery for she's all right?
Because you kind of can't. There really is nothing you can do for it if you know about lupus.
I don't know anything about it, actually, man.
Yeah.
What is it? Is it viral kind of thing?
No, it's an immune disorder, and they basically put a label on it because they don't really know what it is. They just know that it's bad, and the symptoms end up being similar among people who suffer from it. But both of my sisters have it, and it just can be triggered just because there's no necessarily rhyme or reason. There are certain things that can make it worse, but anyway, there's only so much you can kind of do. So she did everything right, and then just that morning started running, and nope, not a good run day, but she made it.
That's fantastic. Awesome, dude. Well, it must have been good to see the family as well.
It was good. It was a whirlwind though, because literally I felt like I landed and I was on the plane again, but that's okay.
Your whole life's a whirlwind, dude.
I guess so. It seems it's really not, but anyway.
It seems it from afar compared to mine.
Like this, yeah.
I mean, the glamour of slot machine competition.
It's not glamorous, let me tell you. It's kind of funny, but it's not.
Yeah, it sounds hilarious. It sounds like there would be a script in there somewhere, that kind of nutty Vegas experience. Well, maybe not the whole thing, but, some kind of aspect to it.
The one through line is that from overhearing conversation, or the brief ones I've had just waiting, to go into the room or whatever it is, there are people that do this all the time.
They make a living out of it. They're professionals.
No, it's the constant hope that something happens, and it's like, anyway, so that's interesting.
Yeah, dude, that's the American dream, isn't it?
I guess, the easy $1 million just by hitting the button. Why not?
There's so many aspects to the American dream, and that's what it's all about, right?
Right.
God bless America, dude.
Yeah. So Browntown, I know you didn't get super far into it, which is totally fine. But how are you feeling about it in general, and how did everything go in terms of you handing in your project?
So, dude, thanks for asking, man. What is for, my working with you, developing Browntown, it's all connected to this master's I'm doing anyway, because right. I don't know whether you remember, but I'm basically going to make a proof of concept of Browntown eventually.
Yep.
And so the first two it's a modular master's in distance learning, blah, blah, blah. And I've done 2 modules now. And the second, they're kind of over 5 to 6 weeks. And the last one was about proof of concepts. And it was actually, even though, doing it alongside trying to draft the first draft of Browntown, it was pretty intense, but it's also what it's all about. You got to work hard to succeed, right? To get some. So, and they do kind of complement each other. And I learned a shitload about, my research was into what makes a good proof of concept, essentially. I think I've barely touched the surface, but I've got some idea, especially after, I looked at a bunch of them, including the one you sent me of one of your clients, which was incredibly helpful. Thanks, man. But, like Whiplash, for example, that is kind of a unique proof of concept. I think, it's so high, the bar is so high in that. It is like, this is how to make an awesome proof of concept. But there's that whole scene, which you hardly ever get in, I don't know whether we've discussed it, but you hardly ever get it in a movie. It's that opening scene where, the kind of the confrontation, the conflict between the antagonist and the protagonist, and and it's what it lasts. Essentially it's a sequence, but it's a very long scene. You never normally get that, do you? So it works brilliantly as a standalone short, but to actually take those kind of scenes to make it into a short it's quite unlikely to be able to do that, I think. And we discussed it a bit with Browntown because you came up with a really good idea for it. So it's now become relevant because the next module is about writing a first draft of the proof of concept. That's why I really need to bang out the first draft of the feature, because how can I even really do that without, having a first draft at least, so I know where I'm going with it.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
So that's kind of, but I do feel like, so yeah, even though I only did a bit in the last week, which was basically a day's work because I only had a day's to bloody devote to it. I felt like I'm in a little bit which I hadn't really fleshed out, that kind of where the surveillance scene. And so I had to really, it was quite slow going, but I had to really think about, I had to really give it some time to work out how this would work. And there's that scene in Chinatown where he starts following the guy that gets bumped off, Mulray. And he thinks he's seeing some kind of truth, but he's actually being completely misled by what he's seeing. I don't know whether you remember it. And it's a really good surveillance scene because, he's looking through the binoculars and he sees the guy that gets bumped off, Mulray. He sees him go down to the storm drain. And then there's this Mexican kid turns up on a horse. It's really nuts, but it's so thematic and really powerful. And it's misleading. And I just thought, I went back to that and I thought, how do I make this work? And so I sent you that, right? You've got that bit. Did you get any of the surveillance scene? Or just a hint of it? So yeah. So that's why I've done a little bit since then. And I came up with, so she goes to surveil this warehouse. It's immediately after the little bit you've got, and she sees one of the smack dealers. He turns up, so there's a reveal there. But then there's a new character that you see at the beginning now, which is actually Sammy's younger brother, and he's kind of like. So I thought it's kind of, it's in the family because they're Albanians, although they're meant to be. He says he's Greek, but anyway. And there's this whole idea because there's that theme between how does the adult world impact on the teenage world. So I thought he could be he could be the guy at the school that's doing the dealing, but he's being groomed by his older brother to take over his that side of the business, like the enforcer. Anyway, so that's where I got to.
No, and that's cool. I like that.
Because it seems to run. There runs a theme that runs throughout the whole script. Is this, the way in which the whole drugs trade affects both the adult world and the younger world, and how they're being drawn into it, and feels.
You have Tony and Nina, you have Danny and Harry, and then now.
Yeah, exactly. It just felt nice. They were kind of mirroring each other.
Yeah, that's really brilliant, actually, because then you also have kind of the three aspects of the trade. You have Tony, who's like the pure, shall we say, police. You have Harry, who's murky, he's like the gray character, and then Sammy, obviously, who's on the other end of the spectrum. So, yeah, makes sense.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Nice. So I had a couple of thoughts, one of which specifically was something that we'd kind of set aside, but I wanted to revisit really briefly with you, and that is when Tony gets the tip from her old mate in London that this thing is going down. I like the dialogue, but the part that isn't really ringing true yet is the fact that it's happening now. Does that make sense? It's like it feels too. I totally get it. It doesn't make sense that he would just phone her up and say, "Yeah, I think you should go down to this whole." Yeah, absolutely, dude. It's cool that you pointed it out. It's like you just skirt over it and you forget about it. But yeah, so how would you set it up? What would you recommend? Yep. So I think the key would be that he tips her off that they've got this news, and they don't know when. So then it prompts an investigation. You could literally have her, Harry, and maybe one or two other guys that she can spare from the force surveying, for when this is going to happen, or looking for tips or whatever. And it's just a brief scene or two to lead up to what you have. But that will just
firm it up, make it more credible, make it actually credible, as opposed to.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
then it'll just feel better rather than a
Yeah, no, totally, man. That's a great point. Thank you.
simple thing, but it was good,
Yeah, cheers, man. Thank you.
Oh, this was kind of interesting if you wanted to do this. So right now you have Harry questioning Jock, and he says, this girl that you knew, and he is pretending, or he really doesn't know who she was, the murder victim. And you could have him put one of those crime scene photos in front of him. And maybe you recognize her now, you know what I mean, kind of thing. You have a moment to do that if you want to. Are you there? Did I lose you?
Okay, yeah. No, it's okay, man. It's only a bit twitchy. I got it. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
You mean as like just to see his reaction, just to goad him and see?
Yeah.
Definitely inject a bit more.
Yeah.
I like it, dude. It just gives it a little bit more dry, because there's a lot of the kind of interrogation scenes, and you can get a little bit boring. So definitely need some kind of something to distinguish between each scene that makes it interesting, right? So I quite like, if that's what you meant. I don't know.
And because you have Harry there, who's capable of anything, we don't know what he's going to pull out. So that's kind of fun.
I like it, man. Thank you.
The Danny and Harry scene is really great.
Thanks, dude.
I didn't know that you changed that much there, or maybe you fine-tuned it a little bit, but it reads really well.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. It feels very. We talked about it, and we've been developing it in the outline, but yeah, I just it was the threat of Harry to him, and it's been set up quite nice when throughout the development of the outline, with him nicking the ring, and it just and that I remember you said that he should, that it should be that Harry gets to chase after him at some point. He's looking for him, and then anyway, it kind of coalesced. So thank you.
No, it did, and you can feel the love that Harry has, as much as the
thanks, man.
hate for the thing, but not for the guy, not
totally. It's most like you still you can't help it if people you love get into drugs, but you want to try and help them, but then it's driving you crazy as well. So
right, yeah. I remember growing up in the church, we used to say, love the sinner, hate the sin, right? So that's sort of what this is.
Yeah. I didn't realize you had that strong religious background. I assume you've broken free of it.
Yeah, that's where we'll leave it. But yes, that's
yeah. No, we don't do it. Of course, personal.
So then the other thing that was new was you added the idea of maybe a crooked politician, or like
yes. So what do you think?
No, I think that's cool. I think that you could have the chief introduce he or she like early,
nice.
If you want.
Like yeah, that's great at the beginning, because it has to be in the setup, I think. And it was just thinking about Chinatown. It's just that's such a powerful theme in Chinatown about the whole corruption invading every aspect of LA society. And
it's a good thing it's all cleaned up now.
Yeah.
Here I am in Vegas, which is also built on the mob and everything.
Oh, of course, dude. It's just like West, the corporations take over. I mean, Casino was a bit, it's a bit slow as a movie, but it was still really interesting. Yeah, me too. It was, compared to Goodfellas, but he was kind of, looking at the history of the casino. It was really apart, and Sharon Stone, she's amazing in that movie.
Yeah. No, I like the film.
But yeah, so I thought, look at the political side, and dude, there's this whole thing. So there's this major heroin problem in Penzance. But if you look at, they have the council, which is Cornwall County Council, the Cornwall Council, it's called. They have a crime survey, right? And they release the stats. There was this. I don't know, they had a meeting on it because there's lots of issues with like petty crime and I don't know, drunken disorderly, that kind of stuff. But there's no mention of the heroin problem. It's like they just complete, and it's like, you know, but you just walk down the street and they're bloody smackheads everywhere, and you're like, so what? You just it's like the thing with Jaws. You know, the council just refused to. They're just putting a lid on it or just pretending it's not there because it's bad for business in inverted commas, as in tourism. It must be it. So you know, I mean, that's just, you know, it's not. It's a form of corruption.
Well, of course, and then, you know, I'm not saying this is true in Cornwall or Penzance, but it is in Chinatown, right? Which is true of a lot of places. If you look further up the ladder and you unravel the thread, if you will, the very people that are there to prevent it are benefiting from it. So, you know, it becomes this whole balance. I mean, the U.S. drug war is all built on that. It's this, and Sicario was a great example of that too, where it's like, you know, there's money to be made on both sides, and
absolutely.
We'll give you a couple, but then you let us you turn the other way when we do our other shit, and that could be the case in this, and it would feel right.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too. That was kind of what we had in mind. You know, Sammy is basically the informer to the National Crime Agency, so you know they give him a pass.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
in turn for him allowing a couple of his rivals to be taken down. And,
Jimmy.
Yep, which is great. But I love the build up so far. I think you're in a good place. I know maybe you're not as far as you wanted to be, quote unquote, but given what all's been going on with you and the solid, as solid as the script is up to this point, you should be feeling good.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. And it feels like I've actually got kind of turned the corner in terms. It's starting to flow now. I mean, it might not seem it, but like, you know, with that scene with Harry and his nephew Danny, it really was felt like you say, it feels like it's flowing. So it's good. Mm-hmm. I'm excited for what I can do this week. I you know, the kind of work with the course is on the lowdown at the moment because it's just starting. So I really don't have to do much for that. I can just focus on this. It's cool.
Oh, good. Yeah. And even if it means you want to send it like Friday or whatever, if you need another.
You're all right with that, dude? If you're cool with that, could be really helpful. Thank you.
I'm very solid up till the point that you're at. So if you just even want to send me the new stuff, I'm.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, because you know, yeah, dude, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, but I'll say it this way: I don't mind making yours the last one I read, because you know you've been working on this so hard, and now that you have some more free time, it'd be fun to see what you do. And again, if that only means you did 3 pages, but you're feeling great about them, then great. You know that. I'm not going to be like, well, really, this is, you know, yeah. do whatever you can.
You know, Max, so I tell you. Like this week, even though I only had one solid day, but I really pushed myself that day. And so basically I did and it worked. It felt I've got to just do that 5 days or 4 days and I'll come up with more of the goods basically. So that's what I intend to do this week.
Another thing that has helped me too, when I've been under that kind of like, I know I only have X amount of time, is crank at it for whatever 2-3 hours if you can. Step away from it, go to the gym, take a walk, go to lunch, whatever, and then see if you can come back and try again for the same amount of time or even less, and see what a solid hour would do if you kind of give yourself to that. And you might be surprised to be like, oh, that refresher actually helped because now I know where to go or whatever.
Yeah, I go away. Well, I go for a surf, for example. You just clear the head, come back But yeah, no, that's great advice, man. I will definitely do that.
Yeah, so, and do that. I think it's Stephen King Stephen King recommends that you leave off where you know exactly how it's going to start up the next day, which I thought is a great note, and it makes so much sense. So that you're not spending the first hour going, where do I go? What is she investigating? I know she, you know.
Yeah, no, totally. Because then you just go and get into a flow straight away, do you? You just kind of start. You know, that's happened quite a lot. So that's great advice, man. I mean, I've heard that before as well, but you know, I fail to listen to it on a regular basis.
Well, it's not mine, you know. It's the guy that
Yeah,
publishes
no,
3 books
but
a year. It's like, are you kidding me? But that's how, you know.
yeah, no, it's great. It's great advice. All right, man. Well, dude, enjoy your slots. Are you
Oh,
finished for the day? Well, no, you're just starting, right? You're going back to it.
no, the tournament part is done. So we find out in about 4 or 5 hours whether we placed or not. Which, if I did, I'll be at the lower end of it, but still, placing is placing.
What does that mean? What do you get for that?
Free play, but it's free money on the casino. So why not?
Fantastic.
At
Well,
this
best
point,
of luck,
it's
man.
at this point, that part's just for fun because I knew I didn't place in like the top that go on to another whole deal, but that's fine.
What do you, if you win on the slots, what's the maximum payout? What kind of slots are?
Which one that you do? Yeah,
It could be anything up to like a couple of grand or more.
the highest jackpot here in Vegas right now is 10.5 million.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Well, that's tied into machines all over, maybe even the country, but certainly all of Vegas. So the chances of you winning that they're almost infinite. It's so improbable. But yeah, technically that's the highest one. So.
Oh, dude, well, best of luck. I hope you place and you get some free cash.
Yeah, why not? That would make it just that much sweeter.
You just there until the end of today, and then you fly back or you drive back.
Tomorrow morning. Yeah.
Driving.
Fly, but I'll fly. I'll go back. It's only a 45-minute plane ride, and then go right to the office from when I land. So.
Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, man.
Thank you. You guys too, Jana. I'm assuming you're still here. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday and the coming week.
Yeah, have a good week, guys.
All right, let's see if she comes back on or not. No, maybe she won't. Very good. So hopefully we'll have Wendy next week, and we'll keep going.
Justin, you're a legend, man. Thanks, dude.
Oh, please. All right. Happy writing, everybody.
Ciao, man. Thank you.
See you.